how can I tell if somebody is emotionally available? How many chances do I give that person to show up in the right way, to show up in the way that I need them to? So the first part, I'm going to address this in a few parts and make some points, and then we're going to talk about how to address and heal the uncertainty in you that is created by your past trauma. So if you're asking, how can I tell if somebody is emotionally available? It presupposes that you don't trust yourself. Presupposes that maybe you've been in situations where you thought somebody was the right person for you, and maybe you were gaslit or manipulated or repeated betrayal, and it continued to pile up over the months or years. So if you're asking that question, it presupposes that you don't fully trust yourself. The second thing that I want to drive home today is you can't really tell if somebody is emotionally available or unavailable until you are emotionally available. What do I mean by that? I want to address a few ways that you may be right now in this very minute the emotionally unavailable person in your own life. You having the emotionally unavailable relationship with yourself. It's going to be really hard to tell if somebody's emotionally available if you're not available for you. So some common ways that people remain emotionally unavailable to themselves after a toxic relationship, or they stay chronically busy. That's the first and foremost thing. And we see this all of the time here. Chronic busyness as a way to distract from feeling sad, from ruminating about an ex, from feeling lonely, from feeling like something's wrong with her, from feeling like I'm broken, I'm defective. And chronic busyness can be working a lot in your career. We often see a lot of women who come to us for healing in their relationship department, but they also have the same codependent, lack of boundaries, internal critic mindset in their career. They never feel like they're good enough, and they find themselves in unsatisfying work environments, just like they find themselves in unsatisfying relationships. That's another topic for another day. But if you're chronically busy, and you're doing that as a way to distract yourself, maybe consciously or unconsciously, that is going to keep you unattuned and emotionally dysregulated and amped up and anxious and worrying about the future or thinking about the past. And the key with chronic busyness is that it's a really common coping strategy that we see with women who have trauma after a relationship. Why do people lean towards chronic busyness? A lot of experts will say, keep yourself busy to keep your mind off your ex. That's a short-term strategy, right? But it's not a long-term solution. You can, clean your house top to bottom and go ride your bicycle and go grocery shopping and clean out your car and stay busy from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And sure, that's probably going to preoccupy you from thinking about your ex, but it doesn't actually make you emotionally available for you, especially if you have a long history of getting into relationships where you never get your needs met and you're settling and you're staying too long with unavailable, avoidant, or narcissistic partners. The other thing about chronic busyness is that if you were in a toxic relationship and you felt like you were walking on eggshells, or you felt like you didn't know what next week was going to be like with this person, or you were worried about the next fight because you weren't sure if you were going to survive it or if that was going to be the end of everything. When you are living like that, you're living in fight or flight. And the longer you stay in a relationship like that, and toxic relationships are, really, they're exciting, they're thrilling. It's chaotic, but there's also a lot of good times. And a lot of people that we work with on some level truly believed that their ex was their soulmate, that their ex was, this amazing person, and that they could, if they just got over these issues that seemed small in the beginning, but increasingly got larger and larger and more out of control as time went on. If they just were able to overcome those issues, and then the relationship would work. And so it's kind of like that pattern of living with intermittent reinforcement. It's good, and then it's really bad, and it's good when it's good, but it's really bad when it's bad. that dynamic is an addictive, that creates an addiction in your brain and in your body. Specifically, when you leave a type of a relationship like that, your body, your nervous system is going to be looking for some type of an outlet to feel like that. Because if you've been feeling like that for a number of years, going from that to nothing and not having that person, that substance in your life is going to be really uncomfortable. And so a lot of people that we see and we work with here will choose to fill that void with a bunch of busyness, because the busyness and the act of doing and staying busy and feeling stressed out and chronically worried about and overwhelmed and burnt out, all of those emotional states are what they experienced to a certain degree in the relationship. And so those feelings become their set point, their emotional thermostat. So chronic busyness is one way that you are keeping yourself emotionally unavailable for you. The other thing that we see quite often here is being addicted to achieving, being addicted to achieving, hitting a goal, reaching a target. A lot of the people that we work with are successful in their careers. They were, driven to go to school and get a good degree and land a great career and make their parents happy, or be successful. And under that achieving and reaching the goals, what we often find a lot of the times, way more often than not, is that people never feel like they're good enough. And so if you don't feel like you're good enough, and maybe you went to law school, or maybe you went to med school, or maybe, you went back and got your master's in business administration after, being a mother, and now you're starting your own business and you've got got 4 businesses running. What people often fall into when they become addicted to achieving is that they're like chasing something outside of themselves. I'm chasing, if I can just hit this target in my business, if I can just hit this level of revenue every year, if I can just hit this, if I can just meet the right guy, or if I can just do X, Y, or Z, then I will be happy. And if you have been an achiever in your life and you wind up in unfulfilling relationships, it's quite likely that you're using that same faulty thinking. If I can just get this relationship to work, then we'll be solid, then we'll be good. And if you're living like that outside of the relationship and you're chasing things and if I just get this promotion, if I just do this, then I'll be happy. And then you're not happy, you wind up like still feeling the same, or still feeling inevitably like something's wrong with you. That whole business of doing, very similar to chronic busyness, that business of achieving, is going to keep you not in the present moment. It's going to keep you constantly worried about what could go wrong or what could happen next. And I see this a lot, especially with people who, even here, when we work with clients in Break the Cycle and they reach a certain level of healing and they feel amazing and they haven't felt this way before, or they haven't felt this way at least in a very, very, very long time, and they're dating and they're showing up differently and they're making these empowered choices and things are working out for them, they will suddenly start to have a mini freak out inside because it's new and it's out of their comfort zone, and they'll try to find a way to go back to feeling like they're not enough. So the point is that if you are achievement oriented and you've relied on achieving to help yourself feel successful or appear successful in your life, but you always wind up in toxic relationships or unhealthy relationships, this pattern of achieving can be an escape. It can be a way that you remain emotionally unavailable and disconnected from yourself. It can actually fuel the story that I'm not enough because here I've done all of these things and I still feel like I'm defective on the inside. And it can keep you in a state of despair. Just like chronic busyness can numb you out to your feelings temporarily, but those feelings never go anywhere. So the first thing that you have to look at, if you're going to ask, how do I tell if somebody is emotionally available, is asking yourself, are you truly emotionally available for you? Are you resorting to chronic busyness? Are you resorting to doing more in your life and hoping that if you just do more and achieve more and create more status and create more success in your life, that you'll finally feel like you're enough. So those are the two big areas and the two big points that I want to highlight here, is that if you continue to remain chronically busy, and if you continue to rely on doing things in your life to help fill the void inside and make you happy, you are essentially like a hamster on a wheel. You're going to continue to remain on some level disconnected from the happiness that lives within you, no matter what circumstances are happening in your life, the love that lives within you, no matter what somebody said or did to you, the power that you have within you. So those are a couple of points that I wanted to make. The final thing that I wanted to make is, how do you tell? First of all, how do you tell if somebody's emotionally available or not? You have to start being emotionally available, and you got to clean up the patterns of chronic busyness and overachieving in your life and keeping yourself burnt out and overwhelmed and keeping your nervous system a wreck, basically. And if your nervous system's a wreck, that's probably affecting your sleep, your physical health. You're probably gaining weight. It's probably affecting your focus and your concentration at work, the relationships with your family. So it's a domino effect. So you do that ultimately by healing your trauma and the wiring that's happening on a brain level and in your body on a nervous system level. And I'll talk about that in a second. The other thing that I want to highlight here is that, how do you tell if somebody's emotionally available and you want to date again, and maybe you're actively dating right now, but you're still having a really hard time, you're still finding yourself in the same type of patterns, is this concept of discernment. Discerning whether somebody is truly emotionally unavailable and is truly unable to give you what you need, versus getting into analysis paralysis, which is where, when we start working with people, where most people are living. Going back to trauma, if you've had betrayal or heartbreak or trust has been broken over the long haul in your life, you're going to have some remnants of that trauma still alive in your brain and in your body. And if you're trying to date and maybe you're falling into the pattern of you're not sure, and then you get with people and you stay too long still, and then it fades out, or they ghost you, or it doesn't work out the way that you want. Or maybe you're in the camp where you go on one date with somebody, you can't get past the first date with anybody because you immediately find things that are wrong and you cut everybody off before you have like a solid chance. It's like you're planting a seed in the ground and the next day digging it up. So those are a couple of things that might be happening. And what we often see women falling into, traps that they fall into after a bad relationship or in a series of bad relationships, is not knowing how to discern properly, or living in analysis paralysis, which is kind of over analyzing things. And the more you over analyze something, the more disconnected you're going to be to your body and your intuition, which, if you sensed red flags with somebody, you usually sense it as a gut feeling. There's a lot of truth to that. So the more you overanalyze something, and the more you're up here thinking it and noodling it over and like going over and ruminating, and you're just driving your brain further out of balance. And you're also causing your body to be in a fight or flight state. And you can't arrive at any type of effective solution or effective outcome or effective behavior that's healthy when you are living in a state of fight or flight. And if you have been in a lot of bad relationships, or maybe you've taken a lot of time off and you thought you did all the right things, and then you met somebody amazing, and then it turned out to be even more toxic than all of the other people that you've dated, you'd likely have a very high guard up and seriously doubt your ability to ever have a healthy relationship. And if you get into dating from that place, and you're not emotionally regulating yourself, and you haven't learned how to deal with your trauma, and you haven't processed your trauma effectively, and you're not breaking your habit of being in fight or flight mode and overwhelm and anxiety every single day, you're going to have a hard time discerning whether somebody is emotionally available for you, and versus dumping into analysis paralysis and overthinking things, and therefore cutting yourself off from your own inner knowing and your own intuition. So how do you become emotionally available, and how do you get really good at discerning? Because somebody can be a great partner for you, but if you're living with past trauma or you're living in fight or flight every day, and the stories that you tell yourself on the inside are, I'm not lovable, something's wrong with me, this is the primary belief system happening inside of you, you're going to find a way to ruin that possibility, to sabotage the potential, because your beliefs are always going to dictate the outcomes you get in your life. And if you have trauma, it's like 100% likely that the beliefs that you have about yourself are really bad and not conducive to having a healthy romantic relationship, and not going to be the beliefs that are going to get you into a healthy romantic relationship. So what do you have to do to become emotionally available and to trust yourself in dating? Number one, you need to heal your trauma. This looks like working with an expert who's trauma informed, who uses somatic work, who uses other types of mind-body processes, other than analyzing your past, other than reliving your past, retelling the stories of your past. Working with somebody who's going to give you evidence-based methods that are going to create new pathways in your brain and create new pathways in your nervous system, so that you're no longer living in anxiety, you're no longer feeling stressed out, you're no longer being a yes person and having zero boundaries. You learn how to feel happy every day. You learn how to emotionally regulate through triggers and communicate effectively and set boundaries effectively with others in your life, and remain connected to yourself in that process. A lot of times we see people who will set a boundary with somebody, and then they spend days or weeks shaming themselves about it, guilting themselves about it, feeling bad that they hurt that person's feelings. And that's not an effective way to create lasting change. So you need to be working on healing your trauma from your past relationships, healing the way that you think, healing the way that you feel every day, learning how to feel amazing and peaceful and calm and collected and happy. Even if you've got a narcissistic ex that you have to co-parent with, that person's not going to be out of your life entirely. Even if you're dating and there's a lot of uncertainty in that area of your life, learning how to heal the parts of you that keep you small, emotionally regulate through triggers. These things are huge in changing your behavior. And once you start healing your trauma and living in a more balanced, emotionally present state every day, it's going to be a lot easier to discern and not overanalyze, but discern whether or not somebody is truly right for you. Somebody can be right for you, and maybe it's just a busy season in their life and they've got other things, but they still want to explore whether or not it's a good relationship with you. There's shades, right? It's not a black and white answer. Is somebody emotionally available or are they not? The more you are emotionally available for yourself, the more anchored you are in yourself, the more confident you feel, the more at home you feel in yourself, the more at peace, the more you believe, and this is key, that you are worthy of having a great relationship. And it's not just an empty statement. We hear people all the time say, I know I'm worthy of a great relationship, but they've never had it. And you can say you're worthy of a great relationship, but still repeat the same things. And if you're still repeating the same toxic behavior in your life, you're still doing that. It means on some level, subconsciously, you don't believe you're worthy. So you have to heal these beliefs. You need to overcome your relational trauma. And most importantly, you need to take consistent action. We see a lot of people who've spent years in therapy. They know everything about their trauma. They know everything about the narcissist. They know everything about being a codependent, but they're still making dysfunctional choices. They're still avoiding dating. They're still getting into lopsided friendships. They're still getting into unhealthy work situations. They don't know how to they don't know how to implement what they're learning. So you need to take consistent action to implement what you're learning. It can't be like a theory that you learn and then, oh, well, okay, I guess I'm healed, and wait for the right person to show up. No, you're going to have a lot of challenges and a lot of tests. And this is what we help our clients overcome. We help them heal the trauma that's holding them back. We help them heal their subconscious beliefs that they can't have a great relationship. And most importantly, we help them implement they're learning and their changes that they're making on themselves out here in their life, so that they're getting feedback, they're getting positive reinforcement, they're setting boundaries, they're dating effectively, they're having closer relationships with their kids, they're having better communication at work with their employees, etc. So that is how to tell, long-winded answer, how to tell if somebody is emotionally available. The bottom line is that you have to be emotionally available for yourself. And chances are, if you've had bad relationships and you continue to struggle in dating, and you're a people pleaser and you're a fixer and you're a codependent, the chances are highly, highly likely that you are not available for yourself. If you want help becoming available and help healing your relational trauma, and you're a successful person, you're career driven, you get it right in other parts of your life, but when it comes to your love life, it is the same thing happens, like a broken record. And you've already done therapy and you're not secretly hoping to go back to your ex, then book a free breakthrough call and go to BethanyDotson.com/talk. And we will have a very honest, eye-opening conversation about what's holding you back, but most importantly, about what you want. What do you really, really want? What kind of relationship do you want? How do you want to wake up feeling every day? How do you want to feel when you're interacting with your ex? And get super clear on the vision that you want to create in your life. And if we feel we can help you overcome all of the fear inside, all of the self-doubt, all the trauma-based patterns and behaviors, we'll talk about what it looks like to work together and go from there. So again, BethanyDotson.com/talk if you want to have a conversation about if we're a good fit to work together. Otherwise, if you found value in this, please leave your comments, drop a comment below. And I hope you have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.